All right, well, welcome to the podcast. Today I've got Sean from Manila at the moment. He usually is in Bangkok, but he's flown over to Manila. I'll let him tell you a little bit the story behind why he's in Manila right now, not why he's in Bangkok. But I came across meeting Sean through Dan Andrews, and Sean's a lifestyle entrepreneur, and I'm really, really excited to be able to share his story with you because he's got a very, very interesting story, and it will encourage you to look at a different way of being in business and also looking at having a lifestyle as well and combining both those together. So welcome to the call, Sean, and it's great to have you on.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
I thought let's start off with just maybe sharing a little bit more about your story to the audience to tell them a little bit more about what you're currently doing. And actually, let's take a step back. Where did you start and how did you end up where you are right now?
So originally I'm from the United States. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Graduated university like 3 years ago, and I did the traditional thing. I got a desk job. I worked finance, suit and tie, and it took me about 6 months to realize that really was not the route I wanted to be going. And I stayed in that job up until the end of last year, and finally I was like, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. I gotta do something more interesting, more adventurous. And so I left my job, and that's when I got in touch with Dan, and he basically said, hey, I've got this opportunity out here in Southeast Asia, building some businesses, and I want someone to come out here and help me do that. And so come January, I hopped on a flight. He basically said, pick a city you want to go to. So I said, I want to go to Thailand. So we hung out in Thailand for a month, and it just kind of stuck.
And you've also got a very popular blog as well at Location 180. And I was actually following your blog as well for some time. You've got some really interesting stories as well to share on there. What got you started writing that blog?
Well, the whole reason I started the blog was because I knew I wanted to make a change, and I had no idea what to do. I was like, I've got all these thoughts going through my mind, and I wanted to travel. I wanted to do something more entrepreneurial. And so I just kind of said, I'm going to start a blog. I'm going to start writing and see where that takes me. So I started it last May, so May of 2009. And if you go back, the first posts were just kind of all over the place. It was talking about travel and trips I'd taken in the past and all sorts of random stuff. And finally, I kind of, got in touch with some of the right people, and I kind of found a niche that really seemed to be working for me. And that was, the coolest part about the whole blog is that it helps you build up a support system. And so by the time it came to make the decision to actually leave my job, I had all these people that were willing to help me out and were supportive of it. And so that's a nice byproduct of the blog that I wasn't expecting. So
that's nice. What were you doing, as you said, before you decided to fly into Bangkok? What was your role as what were you actually doing in the United States?
I was a financial analyst. So I worked for a small money management firm. So I basically was just crunching numbers. I was researching stocks and helping decide whether or not they were the right things to purchase for our clients and things like that. But, part of the problem was it was such a small company that, I was fresh out of school, and they kind of looked at me as like, you don't really know what you're talking about kind of thing. And so, I never really gained any traction. If they were able to, pay a little more attention, embrace the youth that I brought, I think that it would have worked out better. But it just wasn't the right type of business for me. So.
Okay. But you're having a secure income back there. You're living a decent life over there, and to take that leap of faith and to jump over into Bangkok and do what you're currently doing, it really took a lot of guts, didn't it, to do what you did?
Oh, it was terrifying. That was. I remember the day I left my job. I'm like, oh crap, now what do I do? But it was amazing how quickly things started falling into place. Within a week, I'd had other job opportunities. I had opportunities to travel with friends. I kind of found that until you're in a position to start embracing other opportunities, you're never really going to find them. So when I was in my job, I wasn't really looking for other things, or I didn't feel like I could commit to them. But as soon as I didn't have that burden, then, all sorts of things just kind of started opening up for me.
Wow, it's amazing when you actually set yourself free from one place and you go into a new place. It just changes everything. I noticed you've been sweating there. Is it hot over there in Manila at the moment?
It's a little hot here. It's like we don't have air conditioning, and now I'm not sitting in front of the fan anymore. So it's definitely right up there with Bangkok. All
right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about currently where you're at. you've flown into Manila. What was the story behind that one? It's only been the last week that's happened.
Yeah, so basically, I've been in Bangkok for the last 4 months, and there's been a little bit of civil unrest. There's been a lot of protests going on, and everything's kind of come to a head within the last week or so, 10 days. It was at the point where my apartment building happened to be 1 block away from a very key point of contestation between the protesters and the military, and so I woke up one day and I went out to lunch, and there was 50 soldiers marching down my street. And by the end of the night, there was constant gunfire, constant explosions. I fell asleep, watching like flashes go off out my window of just bombs going off, and it was a pretty intense situation, and it only got worse. So my neighborhood has been basically burnt to the ground. I spent the last few days in Bangkok over at a friend's house on the other side of town, and finally, the military decided to move in on the main encampment where the protesters were. And so, that was when everything really went down, and it just didn't seem like a safe place to be. And I had to leave the country anyway for visa reasons, so I was like, well, where can I go? I called up Dan, said I'm coming to Manila, and 5 hours later, I was on a flight.
And yeah, you're in Manila right now and catching up with Dan. So let's jump now to what's happening with yourself and Dan. You've come onto the MBA, the Tropical MBA program with Dan, which Dan started back 6 months ago now, or has it been 6 months yet?
Yeah, I think he first started it in like November, so about 6 months ago.
Okay, and maybe just share with the audience, what is this Tropical MBA that you've been participating with Dan's, Dan's business as well?
So essentially the idea behind the Tropical MBA is that, you can go out and you can spend, 2 years of your life and $100,000 to get a traditional MBA. And you're going to learn stuff, but you're not learning a lot of the real hands-on things that you need to know to run a business. And so he said, you know what? That system's broken. I can come out here, I can bring someone in, I can pay for their expenses, general living expenses, teach them how to build a business, and everybody gets to benefit. And so I'm coming out here. He brought me in at a very high level of, their business, basically said, jump in. You can kind of get a sense in the first couple of weeks of areas where you can add some value. And so anytime I needed help with anything or had ideas, he was always there to talk. And really it's just kind of served as a mentor as we work on building these businesses together. And so it's really kind of a cool, unique program. And over the coming years, I would expect a lot more things to kind of be driven this way, just because I know that the value that I've taken from this program is equal, if not greater, to anything I would have gotten from traditional education.